Good day. Welcome to Putnam Talk Radio. I'm John Marino, and we are produced by Sharc Creative, made possible by Tompkins Mahopac Bank, by Lipolis Electric. Don't be left in the dark. Get Lipolis. By White Plains Hospital. By also Hightower Westchester, managing your wealth to a fiduciary standard. By Michael Labriola, landscape design and construction. And by Robeson Oil, the house that Service built. This is the Cup of Joe political show, Putnam Talk Radio style. We are joined by Sam Oliverio, Supervisor of the town of Putnam Valley. Mr. Oliverio, first of all, thank you for joining us here on Putnam Talk Radio. And secondly, the past 18 months we know have been a challenge around the Putnam Valley and all around the county and around our area, the country, around the world. Where does COVID stand within the confines of Putnam Valley now?
Well, thank you for having me on your show. COVID gave everybody a big whack in the side of the head. The past 18 months have been terrible. We require individuals who come into our building now to have a face mask.
And you mean the administration building, right? In Putnam Valley, the government.
The main building where the courts are located, my office and the clerk's office, things like that. We require face masks also in our park and recreation building. We require that because we don't know who's vaccinated and who's not. All of the staff within the town hall complex, they're all vaccinated. So they have the option of wearing a mask or not. And we also separate the offices now where individuals can stand with the plexiglass shield that goes from the top of the doorway all the way to the bottom. So really, there's no interchange of common air.
You've made quite an investment to make this happen, obviously.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I mean, into the thousands of dollars, disinfecting. And we also had to close down because we had an outbreak of COVID within the town hall back in the fall around October or so. And you talk about chaos. There's nothing worse than not having your employees there to help and assist with all the requests from the community. So it was myself and another individual running the clerk's office, the supervisor's office. Also, we had people working from home on our, bills and paychecks and things like that. I can't wait till it's over. That's
Might there be a vaccine mandate to make sure everybody is basically on the same page, at least among governmental workers?
Well, again, all of my people here in Putnam Valley, all of the employers did that on their own. They're all fully vaccinated. I'm not comfortable with mandating a vaccine. There are some individuals who really feel strongly that it's not appropriate, that they fear it almost. So I can sympathize with their point of view. I don't support it necessarily, but who am I to mandate that? But thank God, everybody did get vaccinated, so I don't have that concern.
How about vaccine distribution around the town? Are there enough vaccines out there that have been distributed, or do we need to do more?
No, I'll tell you, the county, Putnam County, and the Department of Health have been fantastic. I don't know how else to put it. They have supplied our community and the entire county with copious amount of vaccines, and our pharmacists now, our local pharmacy at Oregon Corners here in Putnam Valley. Jason is the gentleman's name who owns it. He has a full staff of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. And, the county has provided shots for everybody. If there is anybody out there who's not gotten a vaccine, that's because they did not want to get it.
Can you just walk into Jason and say, give me a shot right now?
Yeah, and he would do that. And our surroundings, CVS and Rite Aids in the area also will provide that as well.
Federal stimulus money due to the pandemic. Much has been made of that. Much has been made of what the states get. And then we have the trickle down effect where that money goes after it goes to Albany. It's earmarked for one thing or another. Yet, from what I hear, you can make certain adjustments. Has Putnam Valley as a town received enough stimulus funding to this point?
Yes, we received, and it's public record, $1.26 million in two payments. We received the first payment, a little bit more than $500,000, and we're earmarking this for 2 or 3 big initiatives. One, we have a dam that the town owns that needs major repairs. That's going to be very expensive. We could not afford that on our own. We would have to put up taxes to an astronomical level. So this money can be used for that as a water project. The water that goes over this dam goes into the Peekskill, the city of Peekskill's water supply. So it needs to be, pristine, and we just have to do a lot of repairs on this dam to bring it up to snuff. Also, we're going to use the money for a lot of broadband improvements. Putnam Valley currently, with a contract with Optimum, or Altice, has 2 channels devoted to all the news in Putnam Valley. And we want to upgrade that, not only provide a better format and platform for our people to view our meetings, planning board, zoning board, town board meetings, special occasions, but also live stream so that you can get on your computer at home if you don't subscribe to Optimum. And as you know, many people are cutting the cable, so they have no way to view our program other than going to our website. And that's always a day later. But if they want to see it live, we are investing in a live streaming service right now. So you get on your computer or your phone and view it. That's something we do not have presently, but we're going to use some money to do that. And again, it's a costly project to upgrade everything we have. Also, our website, we're going to redo that. And the other thing is that we had a lot of employees, especially our managers, during COVID, be in our office 10 hours, 12 hours a day, because much of the staff was gone. We had to split the staff in half so that if one cohort was ill with COVID, the other one wouldn't get it. And our managers covered everything. They were phenomenal. So I have requested the board, and they've agreed to give an increase using this money under the provision of the COVID payback or whatever you call it, salary enhancement. They worked very, very hard and never got paid an extra dime for all the extra work that they put in. So we want to show some appreciation. And I found out from the comptroller that was legal as long as we explain everything. It's funny. You want to use the money, you have got to put a book together explaining how it's going to be used and keep track of every cent that is spent, because there's going to be a federal audit in 2026 where the federal government itself, not the state, will come down and audit to see what each town did with that money that they were given.
How about help for small businesses around?
Yes, we could do that, but we have to be careful. Towns cannot gift. And what I mean by gift is provide a service or a monetary initiative to a private entity because you're using taxpayer dollars, and that's supposed to be for the entire community. So what we're thinking is to enhance the areas where our few businesses, are located. The great and beautiful thing about Putnam Valley, it is the most rural of our 6 towns. You come into Putnam Valley and you are on these very narrow, winding roads, and there's trees everywhere. And we have maybe 5, 6 delis, a liquor store, hairstylist place, and that's about it.
A lot of farms.
Yeah. We do not have any huge businesses. You go to Carmel, Kenny Schmidt is lucky.
Right.
The supervisor over there. He has massive businesses. Southeast, the same thing. Phillipstown with Cold Spring, and even Patterson has a central area because of the train station.
Along 22.
Yeah. We are totally rural. So we rely on our day-to-day expenses by taxing the homeowner. And, that is always difficult. We always have to be careful about how we, expend our resources here. Again, we don't have that many businesses. So what we want to do is where the businesses are located, using that COVID money, make it presentable, especially at our Oregon Corners business area. There's a lot that can be done there, and we're going to use some of that COVID money to enhance, to provide better parking, more adequate parking, just a better ambiance when you come into that small business district. We can't give money to the district, to the businesses themselves, but certainly We can clean up along the roads, provide sidewalks, which we've never had, and things like that. So that's
I guess in modern jargon, we could call it a better customer experience, right?
there you go.
There you go.
Exactly.
All right. Sam Oliverio, town supervisor in Putnam Valley here on Putnam Talk Radio. I'm John Marino. This is the Cup of Joe political show. Rent eviction moratorium. Big issue not only in New York State, but nationally as well. How does that affect Putnam Valley at all, if at all?
We do have some rentals, not many. Mainly our community is composed of year-round homes, single-family homes for the most part. The rentals that we do have, some landlords have contacted me already and said, I can't pay my taxes. Rent has not come in, and I don't know what to do. So my heart goes out to them. It also goes out to the people who are renting who lost their jobs during COVID. So it's a double-edged sword. No matter what you do, one end of the spectrum or the other is going to be hurt by any new legislation or the end of the exemption period. I don't know how a landlord can pay their taxes and maintenance and everything else without the rent coming in. At the same time, these individuals who are renting, where will they go if they can't afford the rent? You just evict them and put them out on the street, in America? That doesn't sound right to me either. So this is tough. The best thing to happen, the state is sitting on a ton of money right now that they have not released, only a small portion of it, to assist landlords and the renters in paying the expenses that they're faced with. Why the holdup is going on in Albany, I don't know. But that is wrong, dead wrong. They need to let that money out so that the landlords don't go under and the renters still have a place to live.
Supposedly that money has to be used by, I've heard, different dates, either September 15th, first I heard, then September 30th. If it's not, it can revert back to the feds. Do you see this possibly happening somehow? That would be unthinkable if it did.
Oh my God, it'd be awful. Awful. It'd be wrong. I mean, government, my strongest belief in government is that government exists strictly to provide for the health and safety of the community. That's why governments were established. Going back to the medieval, the Roman times, the Egyptians, whatever. Government is there to protect its people. And if it can't do that, then that's a failure of government and the reason why government was created. So Albany needs to get itself in gear. I know they've had a lot of trouble with the executive branch and everything else, but get your focus and release that money. If it goes back to the federal government, what a major loss and what a catastrophe for our landlords and our renters.
I find it strange that the feds have these controls over it, that there's a drop-dead deadline date, supposedly. You would think the feds would allow the state more time to use that money as it needs to be used, instead of saying, okay, New York State, okay, Mississippi, okay, California, use it by the state or we take it back. It's kind of like, to me, a half-hearted attempt to fix the problem.
No, I agree. At the same time, the state has an obligation to, they've had the money for a while. What have they been doing with it in the meantime? But I agree with you. The federal government, if anything, should extend the deadline at least to the first of the year. And this way, the state would have, 3 months, 4 months to actually move this program along. They'll never get that money out by the end of the month. They won't. By the end of September, that will not happen. It's not enough time. So
another federal issue is infrastructure. The bill's still being kicked around, even though they have a deal. And then we hear, well, the money's not really going to be divvied out and appropriated on paper until, well, maybe middle of the fall. Now we have the situation in Afghanistan backing that up too. What does this mean for rebuilding some of the town of Putnam Valley's roads, for the infrastructure, the roads, etc., broadband you talked about too, around the Putnam Valley?
Yeah, we here in the Valley, we have a lot of bridges that need constant maintenance and replacement. And that goes for every town within the county and our surrounding counties. I go to Westchester, Lower Westchester, and some of the bridges I cross to get into New York City are kind of scary, to say the least.
No question.
That money has to be utilized. My fear is that what's going on in the Democratic Party right now, and I am a Democrat, is that you have the progressives and the moderates, and they're clashing right now over this infrastructure bill. Pelosi wants to push the $3.5 trillion
Spending bill.
The environmental and humanitarian bill, along with the infrastructure. They're two separate items. Separate them. And I agree with the moderates on this. Do the infrastructure so that money's released to the states and then to the counties and the towns, and get some of the work done. Some of our roads in this country, and I'm sure you're aware of this, are in need of massive repair. The last time our interstate highways were worked upon was in the 1950s when Eisenhower created it.
Wow.
There's piecemeal repairs here and there, but it really needs a total overhaul. And that money, I hope it doesn't die in the Congress right now. And it looks like, from what I've read recently, that there's real clashes of opinion going on. Mm-hmm. Bode well.
When you talk infrastructure around Putnam, you're talking open space too. Preservation of open space around the county, one of the most important issues on the list. Are we doing everything we can to preserve open space and preserve the character of the county and the town too?
I have to tell you that when I ran for office, there were two major objectives, and I made it very clear. I said, I want to build a firehouse in this town, and I want to preserve as much open space as possible. And during my 6 years as supervisor, we have been able to acquire over 1,000 acres of open space land, and that's through the help of the Hudson Highlands Land Trust. They have been terrific. They purchased a whole area along Ridge Row, Granite Mountain, and made it a trail area for visitors and our residents to utilize. We also purchased a 161-acre camp that was run by the Archdiocese in New York. The camp was a working summer camp, again, that the Archdiocese ran. We purchased it, 161 acres that will never be touched. It's preserved forever. We also had another area called the HYH development up in Roaring Brook that the state acquired. So over 1,000 acres now will remain forever green. And that's important because all of these land areas that we've acquired, or the Hudson Highlands has acquired, or the state, contain huge aquifers from the last glacial period. And that's where we get our water. And if that were to be developed, like anything, one straw in a glass, no problem. Put an additional 2 or 3 and you drain that glass in no time. And that has always been my fear, that our aquifers could be at risk with overdevelopment. And we also make it very tough in Putnam Valley to build a house nowadays. We have upzoned, and I think that was a wise move. People move here to Putnam Valley, again, not for the businesses, because we don't have any, but for the open spaces and the green. And we are predominantly green no matter where you turn. The forests are thick, and there are a lot of trailways. We also have Thornstalk Park within our boundary, and that's huge. It's an enormous New York State owned environmental refuge for wildlife and for people to enjoy. So,
how much of an influx have you had of population since COVID began? People who want to come to Putnam Valley, the town, and Putnam County. And we know overall the county has taken in a lot of new residents in the past 18 months.
Now, believe it or not, our population has not increased. What has happened is that many individuals, especially during COVID, decided to leave Putnam Valley, move down south. There were retirees, large part, families whose children are older now and left home, and they can work from home now. So they left. But immediately upon putting their house for sale, the influx has moved in, and it's astounding. A house in Putnam Valley will be on the market approximately 2 weeks before it's sold. And that is, I can't believe driving down some of our roads, seeing a for sale sign, and 5 days later in contract, and 2 days later sold. It is moving that quickly. And that's from our neighbors south of us in New York City and Lower Westchester who are in apartments paying, an astronomical amount of money when they can get a house and pay the same amount in a mortgage and taxes, and yet build equity through this building that they own. So we are not building any more houses, but the houses for sale are selling rapidly.
And you have a school system, a well-renowned school system, the Putnam Valley school system, Putnam Valley High School, great athletic teams there. The Tigers, who are outfitted not in orange and black, the Tigers of Putnam Valley are outfitted in what our background is, this shade of blue, basically. Yes. So the schools within town are a big drawing point too.
I worked for the school district for 35 years. I retired as the assistant principal of the high school. And matter of fact, I'm wearing, as you can see.
There you go.
Yeah, I have a great affinity for our school district. I went through the Putnam Valley schools, kindergarten through ninth grade. At that time, they only had one building, and that's our present elementary school, housing all the kids in the area. But back then, we only had 2,000 year-round residents. And now
where did you go to high school back then?
I went to Lakeland. You could choose
Lakeland High across the border in Westchester and Shrub Oak near the Jefferson Valley Mall, the other side.
That's right.
South side of Route 6, because at that time, Putnam Valley High did not exist. That came into existence in the mid-90s.
Yeah. What happened is that, we had a huge vote on it in the community, and the community supported the education movement. And the high school is fantastic. Matter of fact, they just built a brand new building, a health and welfare center, which is really a huge indoor sports center for the teams, for the kids during phys ed and things, just an additional space to get that physical activity going, which is so important for young people. The school district it's an amazing, if you watch it, it's like a movie. Began as this one-room schoolhouses, about 6 or 7 in Putnam Valley, consolidated in 1935 to the building that sits on a hill off of Osquana Lake Road, which is now our elementary. 1972, they built the middle school. And then in the late 90s, the early 2000s, they built the high school. And we're a full district now. Before, we rented when we sent our kids to high school. And again, it was either Lakeland, Peekskill, and then eventually all our kids ended up at Walter Panis for the last 5-6 years.
Mm-hmm.
Then brought back home.
Will schools be fully open in September? September just days away.
I think so. I really believe so. Our school district, very conscious of the health of its students. Yeah, the downside is that there is no vaccine yet for the younger people under the age of 12 and under. And I hope that they crack that nut soon, because that's really very, very important to get our kids vaccinated. But I do believe school will be open, but there will be a mask mandate. I'm sure of that. And distance, the CDC is recommending a 3-foot distance, and that's easily accommodated. The 6-foot was hard, and that's why they went on rotating schedules. I think everybody will be in together, and should be fine. It should be a good school year.
Can the school district mandate vaccines on its own outside of the auspices of the town?
That
must be a legal question somewhere.
Yeah, not for the students. They can't do that. For the staff, look at what New York City has done. They're not giving any quarter on that. You either get vaccinated or you
don't work. That's simple.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, I don't believe our district will do that. I know that close to 90% of the employees, that's custodians and teacher aides and the instructors themselves, have been fully vaccinated. By large, the majority. So it's up to the superintendent and the school board. I don't think they'll mandate it, but I can't touch that area. That's a separate, bureaucracy.
Right. Sam Oliverio is the town supervisor in Putnam Valley. Putnam Talk Radio, the Cup of Joe political show. I'm John Marino. Sam Oliverio. As we move into the new school year, we're getting towards the end now, final quarter of 2021. Budgets for 2022. Have you gotten to work on that? I assume you have.
Yes, yeah, we already began that task. And to make it more complicated than just laying out the budget, I have two contracts to get done before I leave office. Our CSEA, civil.
Which you will do at the end of the year, correct? And wrap up
Well,
your
we're working on it right now.
Uh-huh.
I need those figures so I can project the budget for 2022 because the contracts, both our manager's contract and CSEA, end December 31st this year. And both unions have requested that before I leave, my term expires December 31st.
Mm-hmm.
Contract and put together a new packet so that it can take effect next year and in the following years. I'm looking for a 4-year contract for each group right now. But
might there be something in the new budget that you put together? You won't be around anymore after the end of the year, but that might be in there that's not in there right now that you feel is key for the future of Putnam Valley?
Well, one of the things, we contract with the Putnam Valley Volunteer Fire Department, and for years they have needed a new firehouse. And we arranged their budget. When I first got to office 6 years ago, we started to increase their budget slightly so that they could take some excess money and start saving it, so that when the building came to fruition, it would not impact the taxpayers. They would have already had that in the piggy bank to begin the process. And that's what we've done. And what I'd like to see enhanced, and probably not this budget because we are a little tight this year, but in following budgets, enhance some of that money to the fire department so that they can continue the fine service that they've been provided, but also build this very necessary building, which they just broke ground on. They've dug the basement out. They're going to start putting the foundation together very shortly. And it's going to be a 1 to 2 year project. In the between time, they still fight fires, go to all car accidents, respond immediately. These are our neighbors in town. It's a volunteer fire department, and they're exceptional individuals. So you want to support them as best you can. The same with our ambulance corps and our library. These are all contracted agencies. They are not run or owned by the town, but we need their services. The thing that most people don't realize is that without a fire department, you cannot get home insurance. And that's one thing that I found out when I first came to office. I did some investigation to see if our fire department maybe could be replaced by another one and would it be cheaper and whatever. And I had to bring the insurance companies into this, and I asked their opinion. They said, your fire department is rated very high. You get rid of them, your home insurance is going to escalate. And if you get rid of them totally, forget it. You're not going to get home insurance because we're not going to cover you. Because who's going to put out a fire if you don't have a fire department? So it's an important component of the town. And I am increasing the budget to the library, to the ambulance. We already have a 5-year contract with the fire department, but that can be amended. And this year is going to be tough to do that. But my hope is that the next supervisor will be wise enough to understand that this fire department exists for our health and safety, and they need to be supported. The state is constantly putting out new mandates, John, that require our departments to buy new equipment, replace old equipment every certain amount of years, and that money has to come from somewhere. So you want to support them. They're very key and very important. And again, they're residents of Putnam Valley. They all live here.
In light of everything going on in Afghanistan right now, veteran services locally a key issue for anyone who might be coming back from Afghanistan, whether a civilian, military, or maybe they have a family member who is coming back right now. What kind of services are available within the town and Putnam County to help out those who are returning?
The town itself, fairly active Veterans of Foreign War posts, but the main services that many of these individuals who are returning from combat or overseas duty, they need something much more extensive than just the camaraderie of the VFW. So we refer them to the county, to the Vet to Vet program, which is very robust in our county, and also the Veteran Support Program that is headed by Carl Rohde and Art Hanley, who do a fantastic job in guiding our veterans to the proper service that they may need, whether it's one of the VA hospitals if they need extensive services, or even some of the areas of counseling and mental health. The biggest stress factor of any veteran, and I am a veteran, I served from 75 to 78, is the adjustment coming home. You've been living a totally different life, and unless you've never been in the military, you don't understand what it's like to really be there 24/7. And GI, government issued. You are a government issued article, and you serve your government as best you can. To come home and that's no longer there, and those restraints and orders and that discipline is no longer there, a lot of individuals just kind of implode. I know I had a tough time the first year I was home, and thank God I had some great friends who supported me, and they did not have the programs that they have now at the county. I wish they did, because these programs are fantastic. They'll direct our veterans to all kinds of recreational activities where there are fellow veterans. They'll provide transportation and services. The county is the number one resource for our town, for our veterans.
Mm-hmm. Have you had a chance to speak yet with new Governor Kathy Hochul within the past 2 weeks or so?
No, I don't think she has time.
Give her a call.
Yeah. It must be kind of chaotic for her. And
I could imagine. Yeah. What would you, if you had a chance to talk to her right now, what would you talk to her about?
Well, the first thing, and we've touched on this, she's got to get that money for the landlords and the renters out, so that these people have some solace and can be rescued from the plight that they're in. The second thing is to really look at the overall configuration of our state and understand that Southern New York is much different from Northern New York. And let's build some bridges here, because that seems to be the greatest cause of conflict in Albany. Is you have these geographic areas that, though within the same state, really have different ideas and different concepts about how government should work. New York City and the boroughs and lower, Westchester, that whole area is very urban, and they look at government as an ability to provide numerous services. And the taxes, like, it's okay, it doesn't really matter. Here, where you're based in a rural area, taxes do matter, because we pay a lot on property taxes coupled with state taxes. It becomes crippling. So the new governor really needs to look at that and see, how can we reach a happy compromise? That's very important.
Mm-hmm.
So I would definitely restructure what the former Governor Cuomo put together around his administrative team. I know she's doing that already, and I give her credit. And I just ask her to be bold and get rid of that old world network that was set up there, because it was poison. And it ultimately, from what I read and what I understand, poisoned the governor as well.
Did it help bring the governor down, Governor Cuomo, former Governor Cuomo now?
Yeah, he had a lot of loyalists. This is an individual, and I know because I've dealt with him a couple of times, who, boy, if you did not agree with his opinion, you were persona non grata. And that is, and I experienced that personally just recently. The state built an overpass linking part of our town with a small hamlet called Roaring Brook, and it's a Pudding Street overpass that just opened up, and there was supposed to be a ribbon cutting. Well, the ribbon cutting was canceled because the governor found out what the grand jury had said about him and canceled the thing. But he had invited just about everybody except me, because I have been in great disagreement with many of his policies. He was very heavy-handed. Again, my way or the highway. And I'm hoping the new governor, and she is aware of this. I've heard her speak, and she seems to be very much on the ball. and focused on what is right, not what is right for her, but what is right for the state of New York.
Sam Oliverio, at the end of 2021, you'll be moving on to another phase of your life.
Yes,
Your
sir.
days as supervisor of the town of Putnam Valley will be over. They'll be in the history books. What's next for you once 2022 begins?
I'm hoping to run for the school board because I think our district could use some support. Like I said, I've had 35 years in the district. Began as a guidance counselor, then went to an assistant principal at the middle school, and ended my career as assistant principal at the high school. And I loved every single day of it. I love the kids, I love the parents, I love the school district, and I think I could be of some help to them as we move forward. So I'm looking forward to that. But that's in the hands of the people. It's in an elected position. We'll see how it goes.
Sam Oliverio, all the best to you. Thank you for all you've done around the Putnam Valley in your 6 years in office, and you still have more to do. A few more months to go. We'll see what transpires between now and the end of the year. We thank you for joining us here on Putnam Talk Radio, and again, all the best in your future endeavors.
Thank you, John. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sam Oliverio here on Putnam Talk Radio, Cup of Joe Political Show. I'm John Marino. We are produced by Sharc Creative, made possible by Tompkins Mayapack Bank, by Lipolis Electric, the house that Service built at Lipolis Electric. Don't be left in the dark. Go get them. Robeson Oil is the house, though. By the way, let me wrap the end up here differently. Mike, let's take back the ending here, okay? You can cut this up. And we are made possible by Tompkins Mayapack Bank, by Lipolis Electric. Don't be left in the dark. Get Lipolis. By White Plains Hospital. By Hightower Westchester, managing your wealth to a fiduciary standard. By Michael Lambriola Landscape Design and Construction of Armonk, and by Robeson Oil, the house that Service built. Catch all of our Putnam, Dutchess, Rockland Orange, Westchester, and Fairfield County talk radio programming on our YouTube channel, Sharc Creative YouTube.